All right, everyone, we're back and we're ready to go into essential tools for the internet sellers. And I want to welcome to the show again Danny, who is brilliant at all things having to do with the internet. And today she's going to share you some tips and tricks. And Danny, I'd have to say I was going through the PowerPoints that you created for this, and I really appreciate this. I kind of wish I had had this, as I was building my business on eBay, because we use basic HTML in so many things nowadays.
It really is the kind of thing that a business owner has to know. You don't need to know how to build your website from scratch anymore. There's lots of tools that do all of that. You don't even have to keep HTML cheat sheets by your elbow anymore. But you do need to know at least what the basic tags are and how the structure of a page is put together. Once you have those two building blocks, you're good to do all kinds of other things, not just on your website, but on other people's websites.
That's awesome. Well, can you show us some of those things today?
Okay. What we did last week is we talked a little bit about the mindset of a business owner. This week we're going to talk about the skill set of a business owner, and I hope that by the time we're done, you'll have the confidence to go ahead and use these tools not only on your own website, but as I said, in other places around the web. Now, if you think about technical stuff, a lot of people are afraid to go out and do some of it. They think it's beyond them. Maybe you've been told that you're not good at math, and you think that will reach over to everything. Or you have some other kind of reason for thinking you don't want to go ahead and use these technical tools. Don't let that stop you. If you think about how you work in the other areas of your business, for instance in accounting, very few business owners are their own bookkeepers or their own accountants. But that doesn't mean that they don't know how to read a spreadsheet or read their financial statements. They know what the bottom line means. Every business owner knows how to look at a financial statement and see if they're making a profit, even if they can't write the balance sheet themselves. This is the kind of tools you need to know technically. You need to know when you need to hire an expert and when you can do it yourself. You need to know how to use simple tools like creating HTML tags for your signatures so that you can leave a clickable link across the web. If you go out and you're trying to bring new people into your business by going out and joining, say, a Yahoo group, and you have a website address that isn't clickable, that requires everybody to cut and paste it into their browser before they can come and see your site, you're going to lose a large portion of the people who might otherwise be interested. So what we want to do is get those skills that you really need to make yourself profitable. We want to encourage you to look at this, even if you don't enjoy it very much, as an investment in yourself. This isn't just a fun thing. Or there are parts of your business that are anything but fun, but some of them are an investment, and this is one of them. One of the most important things you have on your business is yourself. When you think about what insurance you can buy, you buy key man insurance. You don't buy key customer insurance. So you have to invest in yourself if you want to keep your business profitable. So let's get right to it. Let's go learn some HTML.
Uh-oh.
Now, a lot of people right away, they say, uh-oh, and they just start stressing out, because if you know anything about computer programming, you know that computer languages are very complex. There's not something where you can just sit down and figure it out by yourself unless you have a really particular gift. Well, HTML isn't one of those languages. HTML is the simplest thing that I know of in computers. It's just English, unless you don't speak English. Then it's Spanish or Swedish or whatever. But it's just everyday language with tags at the beginning and end of whatever you're saying. HTML is really, really easy.
Hey, Danny, how'd you get a picture of me from this morning?
Google.
Shoot.
They're everywhere, though. That Google Earth, you just can't hide. So HTML, you used to even have to know what the tags were. Now you don't even have to know that. It's good to know it, but editors now are what they call WYSIWYG, which stands for what you see is what you get. You don't even have to work in the code part. You work in the part that looks like what you want your page to look like, and the editor will apply the tags to you. The reason we want to give you the ability to check and write those tags yourself is, as I said, so you can go outside your web page, but also occasionally you write something and it suddenly looks like a big gust of wind came through and your whole web page was disordered. You need to be able to go back into the tag and find where it broke. So
they've seen this, Danny, like on their, if they use the auction form on eBay, that's technically a WYSIWYG, right? That they type in one field and they can flip over to see the HTML. This is what you're showing on the screen. It's just a different thing. Same thing with their eBay Stores newsletter
and their blogs and even AOL email. Maybe these days you may be able to get into the underlying code.
Okay.
What we're seeing here on your screen right now is an actual HTML editor. This one happens to be front page. And you'll see most of them have, these days, tabs at the bottom. And you'll see a design tab, and that'll give you the whole page of just the picture of what your website looks like. I'm right now on the split screen, so if I came up here and made a change in the coding up here, I could immediately see its effect down here, so that if it didn't work, I'd know that I screwed up and I could just do undo without saving any changes. Then there's a code tab where all you'd see is the code, and the preview tab, which lets you save and preview as it'll appear on the web. So it's very easy to work in these kind of environments now. And what we want you to do is to feel comfortable enough to not only be in the preview tab all the time, but occasionally pop into the code tab and see what's going on back there.
Don't you find too, Danny, that as you play around with this, that the code starts to make sense to you after a while? Like, I remember the first time I saw HTML code, and I look like that chicken. Like,
yeah, yeah.
Don't you think it becomes easier?
It does become easier, and you'll notice in the code window up above, see how there's different colors? They make it that way on purpose so that you have a visual indicator of what's going on. The title, the tag itself, like where it says body, that may be a little hard to see, but that's in purple.
Okay.
Then BG color equals is in red, and then the actual color itself is in blue, and then the closing tag is in purple again. So that that sort of arrangement is repeated all throughout your code. And if so, suddenly you see something that should be inside quotation marks and it's not blue, you know your code broke somehow. And you can scroll back quickly without having to read every line of code. You can just look for a color change and find out that something went bad on you.
Now, I noticed when I was learning HTML that there was just a few basic things that I always needed to know about, and I could kind of find the rest. Can you show us some of those basic elements of HTML?
Why, how clever of you to ask. It's
Why, thank you.
Almost as though you know what's coming. Yeah, all HTML has two absolute beginning and end things. It has opening tags and closing tags, and they're around whatever it is that you want the viewer to see. Now the people will see the stuff in between those tags. Your browser and your computer just see the tags themselves. So Google and you see different things. You and Microsoft, you see different things. But what we're going to look at is both of those together. So the opening tag is always, the tags themselves are always this a greater than and less than symbol. They're on your keyboard right above the period and comma. And then the closing tag will be the greater than, less than symbol, but it also has this /. And that's the entire heavy-duty structure of HTML. As you can see, that's a whole lot easier to understand than some of the coding languages like PHP or ASP or the things that actually execute really complicated computer commands. This isn't calling on a database to do anything or asking forms to do anything. It's not scripting. It's just saying, start doing this thing here I'm telling you to do. Stop it now. That's it. That's all HTML really demands of your computer.
Now, Danny, some people say that they call those things, instead of the less than, greater than, they call them carets. Have you heard that? Because I want to make sure that they're familiar with all the different terms that people call them.
Technically, carets are 90 degrees around from that. The pointy part is at the top.
Ah, so so people who are calling it that, that's an incorrect term.
Well, I haven't heard that. I may be incorrect, but in
okay.
everyday English, a caret is up and pointing up. I usually call them brackets.
Okay.
And they're not the real. If you look at your keyboard, your bracket is a curly kind of thing, but everybody calls them something different. But they're just the opening and closing brackets to me.
Okay.
So let's look at creating a clickable link, because this is the one thing that you absolutely have to know how to do. Tags all have names. Some of them are called anchor tags, and those are the ones that are clickable. So an anchor tab will always start with, everything starts with the greater than sign. Well, that's the less than sign. And then the tag itself, which is an A for anchor. Then it has this little href, and that may look like gibberish, but it actually is an abbreviation, and it's a very understandable one. It stands for Hypertext Reference. In other words, where are you going to go and what are we clicking into? What's the reference for this link when we make it? And that's why it's followed by an equal sign. Our references equals this thing. Now it has two quotes, and in between it will be your URL. You use the quotes because your URL may or may not be a solid thing. Sometimes people have spaces or other stuff in your tag. And you don't want to worry about those, your browser misinterpreting it as more than one tag. You want your browser to see it as one entire tag, and that's all the quotes do. They're just saying this is one command all in one place, even if the line breaks, even if it's not clear that this is one tag because there's a space. You, browser, read it as one tag, and then you close the quote. That's all there is to a clickable, starting to make a clickable link. The tag always has these parts to it. You'll have the opening, which will be the anchor tag, the href, the enclosed part in HTML, and then you'll have the closed anchor tag. Then you'll have the next part, which is the part the person sees, and that'll be the part in clear English. Remember, we said they were called anchor tags. The part in English is called the anchor text. Now, this is an important thing for you to know, because this is what Google is looking at. Your anchor text is where you put those keywords Janelle is always telling you about. Your anchor text needs to be used to have keywords that you want to rank for. So if you're talking about this, please visit my blog for more great tips, that's not very good anchor text. You want it to say something more like, please visit my blog for video information. Please visit my blog for collectible glassware. You want to think a little bit about your long tail keywords and get those into your anchor text. And the anchor text will then be tied to the href, the part that Google sees, and the clear text will be tied together in Google search algorithms, and you'll be able to rank for those long tail keywords.
So Danny, having to do with search engine optimization, this is probably one of the most important slides having to do with that, right? Because we see all the time the click here part.
Yeah, you want people to you may need to say click here occasionally. I mean,
Okay.
Google shouldn't make us stupid. If you want people to do stuff, it helps to say do it and don't try to be subtle.
Right.
But you may want to say click here because you need to do this, or visit my blog for more great tips. Just click here. But don't just say click here unless it's a button. And then
Okay.
the button, of course, will be clickable.
Okay.
And then you close your tag with that closing bracket and an A. And every anchor text will always close with those same tags. Now, the thing you need to know for Google is that when it reads these anchor tags, it's going to look behind the scenes a lot more than on the scene. So you can wrap these tags around anything. It doesn't have to be just English. You can wrap the tags around pictures. So when it clicks on a picture, it'll go to another page. Google's not going to rank you that much for a picture unless you have other information in there. So sometimes in the tags you're going to put more than just the basic information. We're not going to get way into that today, but there's what they call attributes, which may have more keywords that you can even use to get better ranking on Google. But once you know how to write this tag, then you're all set. Every clickable tag is just going to have these 6 elements to it. You're going to have the beginning of your anchor tag. You're going to say href equals. You're going to have the quotes. You're going to put your URL within those quotes. Then you're going to have the closing part of that opening tag. And you never forget that. After the quotes comes the greater than sign. Then you have your anchor text, which is what your visitors are going to see, so you want that to make sense. And then you just have the closing tag, which for an anchor tag is always /A. That's never going to change. No arguments or attributes in the closing tag. It's always just brackets / closing bracket. And that's all you need to know to make a clickable link. It looks a little wacky, but it's really very simple. You can go to the web page you want to link to, just copy and paste that URL. So you can make on Notepad opening tag href equals quote closing tag, and then just keep that handy. So you don't have to learn to do it over and over again. You just go get what the URL is, paste it in between the 2 quotes, and you're good to go for anything. So we're not going to assign really hard homework this week because this is a little bit of a weirdo class. We can't just go put a web page up anywhere.
Sure we can.
But what I really would like people to do is practice making clickable links on Rockstars. Talk to each other about your business plans, and if you've posted your business plan somewhere that people can look at, put a link to it. If you've posted new items for auction, put a link to them. Rockstars will allow you to do this on the discussion boards, so do it. That's what we're going to be looking for. If we don't see clickable links, we're going to yell at you next week.
So Danny, on this page, if somebody's just beginning to learn about HTML, the first thing that I started looking for is everything that is between a greater than sign and a less than sign is what will actually be visible. I can't put anything in there that looks like code, correct?
That's exactly right.
Everything between the less than sign and greater than sign is code. And so I always knew to look at the less than sign and greater than sign if something was messed up in code. That was like my first signpost in learning about HTML, right?
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll see on somebody's web page that there'll just be one of these greater than symbols showing up. Whoops, that went forward. You'll see just the greater than symbol, and it'll say anchor text,
right,
or whatever, and it won't be clickable. What that means is they messed up somewhere in here, and this tag didn't work, and your web browser is just reading this as another character, another letter.
I see that on a lot of pages, so that just means that they missed a tag someplace,
They missed
right?
something, yeah.
Okay.
So it's easy to go back and look at it and fix it because it always follows the exact same formula. href equals the URL, anchor text, close tag.
I have to tell you something funny. I created a web page on Rockstars, and the whole page is just tons and tons and tons of code, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was one tag missing on the whole page, and it messed the whole page up. One, and I had to go find it.
And that's why this color coding is really useful.
Yeah.
If you're doing this in a real editor, whether it's Dreamweaver or Front Page, or we're going to give you a link to a free editor that you can download and use, you'll have this color coding to help you, and it'll be a lot easier to go back than it is on something like when you're working on the code tab in eBay or on a blog where it's all just type, and it can be really hard to find that broken tag. So learn this formula, use it, and reuse it everywhere, and you'll be able to, what I call, leave footprints all across the web that'll be able to direct people back to your business.
Great point.
The other tag I want you all to learn about is the image tag. These are the two really important ones. You don't want to say, I have a great piece of glass for sale on eBay, and if you only could see it, you'd love it. So, go look
But I've seen some of those.
Go look at that. You want to be able to just call in that picture. And you can do that with image tags. And these are also, they follow a formula, they make sense, and they're very easy to use. Once again, they're within those brackets, and they start with image, img, and then src. That's source.
Oh,
so if
I
you
never
think
knew what that was.
Yeah, if you think about these things, they make sense. Where is the image? The image source equals, and then it has where you get the picture from. And once again, it's in quotes. So you open your tag, you write down what it's about. In this case, it's an image. What about the image? Here's where to find the image. Its source equals that URL in quotes, and then you close it. Now, here's where image tags make people crazy. They don't have that closing tag like everything else does. There is no /image to close an image tag. That's because, again, this is all computer, so it's all incredibly boringly logical, because you don't end your image. You want your image to stay on the page as long as the page is in the browser. So you don't say at any point, stop showing that image.
Good point.
So the image tag just stays open, and that's all there is to calling an image. You can now know enough to take this image tag, wrap your href tag around it so that it's clickable, put up a picture of something you have for auction on eBay. If somebody clicks that picture, they can be taken directly to your auction and put a bid in it. Every click that you save somebody is a click they're closer to buying.
Ooh, I like that. We should go put that as a tagline on a website someplace.
So the next thing I want to show you is just the basic structure of your web page. Why bother knowing this? Because this is what, as a business owner, you need to know. This is sort of like knowing how to read your balance sheet. When you know how a web page should be put together, you know where to look when you hire someone to do this web page to see that they've optimized it for Google. If you don't know that, all you're looking at is eye candy. And it can be beautiful, and you'll never rank very well. Somebody else had theirs put together by their 12-year-old cousin. It looks like something put together by a 12-year-old, you know, like their taste in pictures or something. But they keep coming up at number 1 and 2 on Google. And that's because that one is optimized. So all of that stuff happens in the background. Every web page starts with the tag HTML in those brackets. That's an actual tag. You always start with that. That'll be the first thing. If you right-click on a web page and do View Source, you'll see a lot more stuff. But just to keep it simple right now, you're just going to start with the HTML tag, before the terminal bracket here on HTML, you may see a lot of other stuff telling you character sets and which version of HTML. Doesn't matter. All of that is what they call attributes, and that's just stuff says this is the kind of HTML it is, but it's HTML. That tag will have a closing tag saying end HTML, but that will be the very last thing on the web page. Everything else is nested between those two tags. So first tag will be HTML, then you'll see a whole lot of stuff, and at the end of the page you'll see close HTML. Inside the HTML tag, the next tag you'll encounter is called head. The head tag will open after HTML, and it'll have a bunch of information for your browser to tell it what kind of web structure it has. You'll have your meta tags in there that'll have your keywords.
Yum.
Now, is that important to you to know where to find your keywords? You bet it is. If your 12-year-old cousin forgot to put any of that stuff in your head tags, if he just had a head tag that said made by Dreamweaver, you're advertising for the wrong company. So you want to be able to go in there and look at those header tags. They're not the title tag, they're the head tag. The title tag sits inside the head tag. You see, these things are getting nested and they're getting annoying, but you don't need to know why or how or who made this up. You just need to know where to look. So your title tag is the thing that shows up in a web browser. If you look up here, not on this page, but on your page, you'll probably see a blue line if you're using Internet Explorer, and it'll say something up there like eBay or OSI Rockstars Auction Education and Training. That's what's in your title tag. And again, those are your keywords. You don't need to just use the name of your website. You don't want to put in just a lot of meaningless keywords one after the other, because people do see it and they will say spammer if you're just keyword stuffing. But it gives Google something to look at, as well as the meta tags you've put in your head tags, inside your head tags. So you want to look at both of those very closely to make sure that you follow good industry practices, and that if somebody else has designed your website, that they've used the keywords you've given them. Then you close your title tag, then you close your head tag. See, they go in reverse order here. And you open your body tag, and that will be the web page. Inside the two body tags will be everything that shows on the screen. That's all you need to know about the structure. After the body tag closes, the HTML tag will close and that page is done. So you don't need a whole lot of fancy stuff. You don't need to be able to go all through the whole page. You're just going to be looking at the top here. And once you see body, you can start worrying about whether or not this is your stuff as a business owner. You're done looking at your spreadsheets and your balance sheets. You're down to the bottom line and you can go on.
One of the things I found really useful, Danny, when I was starting to learn HTML is I would use Control F for find, and I would put in some of these tags almost as like placeholders or bookmarks.
Absolutely.
So I could locate where the heck I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And now I do the same thing for clients. Like, I just want to go straight to where their title tags are. I just put in that in Control F and I'm right there.
Yep, and that's a great tip. The rest of the tags I'm just going to show you here briefly. This isn't all of your tags, but these are page formatting tags, and you may want to use these when you're leaving messages on other people's boards or something. They're just things that make your text look a certain way, and you'll notice most of them open and close again. P for paragraph. You could guess that your paragraph starts and it ends, so it has an opening and closing paragraph tag. BR is a line break. A line break just is what it is. It breaks. It says put in a false break here. It's like hitting the enter key. And sometimes you may want to do that for reasons of your own that we won't worry about right now. Center just centers the text that's between those tags. You can center text, you can center tables, you can center pictures. If you want something to be in the center of the page, just use your center tags. Font, you have after font, it doesn't just stop. You'll have what they call attributes here, and it will say something like font equals Arial or font equals sans serif. If you have a particular design in mind, you may use the font tag to say so. Bold will make it bold. Italic will make it italic. Again, you just wrap the word or the letter or whatever in those tags, and HR will give you a horizontal rule. All those things are really, really basic. You can find them anywhere. If you need a cheat sheet, just Google web page formatting and you can get cheat sheets for this stuff. Once you know this, you know just about everything you need to know to go ahead and create your own web page. The last thing I want to tell you about, though, is the kinds of links that you'll find on a web page, because this sometimes causes a lot of trouble for people. You make all of this stuff, your links look great, you put them up and they don't work. It's because there are two kinds of links. There are absolute links and there are relative links. Absolute links show the full path, and they usually take you off the website you're on to a different website. That means that if I'm on Rockstars and I want to send you to that new site we have for making web pages, I have to write out the whole URL, even including the HTTPs. The whole thing goes, and that'll be called an absolute link with a full path. It tells you exactly where to go. So that's like that boring person that says you go down 3 blocks, you turn left, you go right, you go 4 steps, and then you ring the doorbell. The other link is your relative link, and that's usually on the same website, and you can cut out all of the stuff about what used to be on this corner or that corner, and you just say you're in this folder, go to that page. And usually, now I want to put in a real link, a working link, and this happens to be a PHP page, but most websites here where it says order would have .htm or .html at the end of it. And these relative links, they're within a website. So if you're finding you put in clickable links and they're not working, check. You might have a relative link instead of an absolute. Or you may find that you have a WYSIWYG editor, and Front Page is notorious for this, that put in an absolute link that's linking to someplace on your hard drive.
Oops.
And so instead of going to a web page, it's telling people, go break into my computer and look at this. And of course they can't. So you just have to change that it'll have file instead of href. You just change that to your URL and you're good to go. That's all you need to know to really run your own website. Right now, you know enough to go out and hire somebody to write it and to check their work and to make sure they're giving you everything you need. Or you know enough to go out and go onto other people's sites and do your own business.
Now, we also have had people who have problems because the eBay store's newsletter is a mess. Their coding that they add in behind the scenes drives me crazy, and I'm always having to go into the HTML to fix something. Don't you think all the things you just taught them will help them go in and make their newsletter look normal?
I sure hope so. And I want to caution people who do something like use Word and then paste it into one of these editors. Don't do that.
Word adds all sorts of weird stuff.
Speaking of adding stuff behind the scenes, Word is for making documents, and it adds lots of what's called MSO tags, which stands for Microsoft Office. It's stuff for Word itself to use, and it's not HTML. And when you save a Word document as HTML, it still puts in a ton of junk that you don't need. So your best bet, if you like to write in Word, is go right ahead and write in Word, but then save it as plain text. Either save as text or copy it and paste it into Notepad where it'll be converted to plain text, and then paste your text into your editor on eBay and apply the formatting there.
Can they use, people have all sorts of different ones, but can they use those WordPads, different things like that to write in?
Yeah, WordPad works okay. That adds some stuff. WordPad actually creates what's called an RTF document, rich text format, but the tags are usually a little better behaved in that.
Oh, okay.
So you can try that too.
But this information you gave them will now they'll be able to go in and figure out why everything from this point down went bold.
Right.
Which happens
exactly.
all the time.
You get those open tags and it doesn't close it, or It didn't understand, it throws in some totally horrible attribute, like it'll say font style equals size extra small.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoa, no, thank you. and things like that. So you'll be able to go in and look at it and clean it up if you have to.
And also know that you'll learn more over time. Like you said, that all the rest is repetition. I started realizing that it truly is. If I understood all these pieces you said, now I can find all the other things. And it's not that I need to know the rest of the stuff. I pay people to do the rest of the stuff. But now I know enough to go in and kind of look at things and figure out. I don't have to pay somebody to figure out why everything has gone bold or why everything's suddenly underlined or...
Absolutely. As a business owner, your time is really valuable, but so's your money.
Yeah.
And, if you can save yourself $30, $50 by spending 15 minutes looking at something, may very well be a good investment to spend your time that way.
Good point.
Now, you can get a free HTML editor that'll help you with this stuff. And as we said, it'll show you those color codings in the code panes, so it'll be a little easier to follow along. It's actually a very good one, and I'd recommend you get it, download it, and even if you have no immediate plans to build a website, you'll find that you can use this to set up. It has some nice templates involved with it, and you can use it to set up a couple of cheap web pages where you put up affiliate links or eBay Partner Network links or Google AdWords pages, just one-page things, and build your skills while you're building a small affiliate income. So go to www.pagebreeze.com. It's an open source editor. It's free. There's no spyware. There's no viruses. There's no ads. There's no gotchas with this. It's open source software. So I'd recommend that.
So I downloaded this. It's a super easy download, and it looks really powerful, especially for being free. Can I use it to code newsletters in so that they look normal?
Yep.
So for those of you who took our newsletter class, this would be a great editor for you to help make your newsletters look more professional.
And you can take this, it'll have that code page. You can just copy all the HTML after you make it and paste that into the HTML tab, the editor tab on your blog or your newsletter if you're using Constant Contact.
Okay.
Because they'll understand the same language.
So doing this is going to have a similar thing where it had like the HTML pane and the pane I'm actually writing in that looks all nice and pretty and awesome.
Yeah. You'll have I think this has 3 tabs rather than 4, but you'll be able to preview, look at the code, and have the split screen view.
Gosh, Danny, thanks for bringing that. I'm excited to start playing with it.
So you've all done hard stuff, and now you see that you didn't need to get all stressed out. In fact, we've just learned that stressed is dessert spelled backwards, and we can all go reward ourselves when we make our first web page.
We get dessert?
We get dessert. We get chocolate cake.
Does Cindy know that she's supposed to bring that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I hope that made you feel better, because now we're going to make you feel worse.
Oh, gee, thanks.
There's
Great.
more. We want you to go behind the scenes of a website and look at cPanel. Now, this is not something where we're going to go into hard detail. I just want you to see what you're going to get when you upload your page, because if you can't do that, you've just done a lot of work for no good reason. So Janelle is going to give us a quick view behind the scenes.
Yeah, I just have PageBreeze up here just so that they can see the page. But I went to Bluehost because that's who my cPanel's with, is Bluehost. And I can just log in here really quick. Or Danny's going to log in really quick. We'll see who we're logging in with. You want me to log in? Okay, hold on.
I'm going to drop the phone.
Don't drop the phone.
I can't type one-handed. And we're going to show you just how simple the control panel really is. Now, you may wonder why we are always pushing Bluehost. I know Janelle uses them, I use them, Cindy uses them. HostGator is also very good, but one of the big things all of us love is how easy cPanel is to use. So if you get a web host and they don't have cPanel, or they've got some custom thing of their own, you may not get what we're going to show you here. And, I'd recommend that you think twice.
Now, can you tell them what a cPanel is? It's just control panel,
Control panel,
right?
yeah.
And I have another company who we bought a server for Rockstars. And their cPanel looks nothing nice like this. It is insanity. And so when you were talking about, Janelle, just go into your cPanel for, I'm like, no! But this I love. Like this I can actually do.
This you can do. The one Janelle's talking about isn't cPanel. It's a different company.
It's like psychotic.
Yeah, it's PS Panel.
Oh, okay.
Psycho Panel. This doesn't require you to know anything about coding. So once again, you just have to be able to look at pictures and have the good sense to read the English and click on what you want.
Okay.
You can pretty much ignore this. This is where they try to sell you other things. Yeah. And these are one of the reasons that their partnerships make it possible to have less expensive web hosting. You can get very good promotions here if you don't have an AdWord account and you want to experiment with pay-per-click. Just go ahead and sign up using this link. Don't go to AdWords and sign up first. You got to use this link and you'll get $50 in free AdWords clicks.
Free is always a good price.
$50 is nothing to sneeze at either. These preferences, they're irrelevant. That's like, instead of being this color, it's that color. I just try not to mess up with that stuff too much. But here we start getting into important things. When you get a website, you're going to get email that goes with it. You've heard Janelle talk 100 times about getting a professional email address.
Goodness. We're still getting those at Hotmail, at Gmail accounts coming in. You guys have got to quit that. And look how, Danny's going to show you how easy it is to set up an email account using your cPanel.
You look at this and you say, box trapper, spam us forward. Just shoot me now. You don't need to know any of this stuff.
I don't know any of those.
Email delivery route. You know what? I've had Bluehost for 6 years. I've never even clicked on that one.
Yeah.
This is what you need. Email accounts. You click on this. It brings you here. You put in your email address. You put in your password, and you click create, and you have an email account.
It's that easy.
If it's possible to be easier than that, I can't imagine how.
I have almost 100 emails I'm creating for this account later tonight, and it will be done in like no time.
And it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
And there's more to it. I don't want to show you a whole lot of detail of other people's accounts.
But I love this, Danny.
Yeah.
This video tutorial.
There we are. Yes, I can't find her mouse. The video tutorial will walk you through, and you'll see down here, try not to look at people's names. They don't apply to you. That you get webmail. When you click on this, you can go read your email online. So like if you like Gmail and Hotmail, because you can use it that way, you can use it right here. You can change the quota for everybody's mailbox. And you can delete it if you mess up. Here's where you change the quotas. Here's where you change your passwords. And here's how you configure it for your mail client. So if you don't know how to make this work with Outlook, for instance, well, you can just come here and auto-configure, and it will download the settings into Outlook for you. It's just as easy as pie. If you want to do it manually, it gives you all the information right there. So you copy and paste that, and it tells you anything that your mail client might ask. Whoops. That's all I want to show you on email. The other thing I want to show you here behind the scenes is a little further down in files. Now you can use the file manager, which you'll probably be familiar with from uploading to eBay. This is a similar kind of thing. I'm going to go to this one because I don't think they have a lot of proprietary information.
We don't have anything there, yeah.
So this is File Manager. You click on it, and it's kind of similar to stuff you've seen like Windows Explorer. You've got the pane showing the whole tree, and you've got the files over here. When you want to upload, you can make a new folder. You click Upload, and it just gives you that thing that you've seen on eBay where you browse your computer and you upload.
So in what instance, Danny, would they use this section as opposed to handing this over to a web person?
When you're uploading one or two files and you want to put a new picture up, or you want to just put a page up quickly, you've done one quick one-page ad or something, and your web person maybe email the page to you and you can just upload it, or they email it and you forgot to give them the pictures and now you have to upload the pictures.
Okay.
Just use this for quick one or two page things. If you're going to use something more, if you want to use something more, then you're going to want to use what's called FTP. And you'll see that this is down a little bit lower. So FTP is not hard. It stands for File Transfer Protocol, and you can get a free one called FileZilla. A lot of this open source stuff that you'll always see the name Zilla, like Mozilla, FileZilla, ShopZilla. I don't know why. But you can use FileZilla to show your cPanel. But what I wanted to show you in the back end of Bluehost is that they'll give you links to FileZilla. They'll do the same thing with your FTP client as they did with your email client. There's a link to just click on it and it will download the instructions directly into FileZilla so that you don't have to set up your FTP client. It'll put in all the information you need to FTP your stuff directly from your computer to your web host. And once you do that, it's so easy to FTP big amounts of information. For instance, if you're going to take 10 files and put them up there and you don't want to go one at a time like you do with the file manager, or you have a folder like you're working in WordPress and your theme is in a folder and you want to upload that entire folder, then you want to use an FTP client. So can you pull up Smart FTP, Jeanette?
Yeah, so I just want to show them the website. Both of these do the same thing. They're going to be really similar. This, Danny's just brilliant. It shows you a free one. Mine actually costs, I think it's like $30 a year. It's not that much. SmartFTP.com is mine. And this is what that actually looks like. So I'll let Danny play around with it and show you guys what it does.
And you can see how simple it is. One side is your computer. The other side is your web hosting company. When you use Bluehost or some other company with cPanel, they can, as I said, they can configure all the information for your web hosting automatically, so you don't have to figure it out. And then when you open this web client, all you have to do is drag and drop. So if we wanted to take a small, these are kind of big podcasts, so it could take a while. But if we wanted to take this and put it over here, all we'd have to do is drag it and drop it, and it would upload it. Or you can use those little arrows.
Right, and mine's actually set up that everything on the right is my computer. Everything on the left is the actual internet hosting website type of stuff. And it took me a little while, I'll tell you if you're just looking at this for the first time, it took me a little while to figure out what all these things meant and kind of where they went to. But it's really important for you to realize that this is everything that's seen on your computer. And that's really easy. You can go to My Documents and find everything. And then all you're doing is transferring it or making a copy of it and sending it up to where your website can read it is basically how I think of it. If I can get it onto this side, it means somehow magically I can get it onto my website.
That is your website.
Exactly. But it knows now, it has a spot, and then when I'm coding the pages, I can tell where that spot is for the podcast or the picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I'd looked closer, I would have seen it tells you up here, this is My Documents, and that this has a web type address. So it's very easy to FTP. A lot of people are afraid to do it. They think it's going to be something really complicated. But it's not. So what you do once you've created your website is you'd go into FTP accounts, and once again you can either add an account, but you don't even have to do that. You can just come down here and they put a whole bunch in for you by default. And again, you can change the stuff just like you did configuring them before. This will give you the information on how to do it. You can take their advice. You can watch a video tutorial. You can get this link to FileZilla. It'll tell you what the manual settings are. If you click FTP configuration and then save or run this, it'll instantly add that directly to your FTP client, so you don't have to worry about it.
I like that they have CyberDuck there too, because we do have a lot of Mac users who listen to these classes. So
although
option.
FTP may seem mysterious, again, it's one of those things that if you take just a small amount of time to learn how to do it, it will pay you in the end. It'll take you maybe 10 minutes and you'll be good to go forever with it.
It has saved me so much money, actually, because before I would send everything to a person and pay them to send it through their FTP. That was just a ridiculous way of doing things.
So that's Control Panel and FTP. Remember, it just moves your files from here to there. No big deal. Go to FileZilla-project.org. Click on that Download FileZilla link. Pick your platform. It'll give you a choice, Windows or Mac or Linux. Pick the one that matches your computer, and you're good to go. Janelle, of course, will have these links for you up on Rockstars, and we'll have them on Web Seller Circle as well. So that's all I want to cover. That's quite a lot, actually, on to learn in one sitting. We don't want to overwhelm you with this stuff, but if you master just those few basic skills, you'll be the kind of person who's actually in charge of your technology instead of afraid of it.